Right, and we are live across our platforms. We are waiting for Matthew to be able to share the video on his wall as well. If we don't see it, it's all good. We'll just share it afterward. But yeah, you can probably see it right now. There it
There
is.
it is.
All right,
Here we
cool.
go.
All right, he's about to share the video on his wall too, so people can tune in on his side of things. So this is another episode of 2030 podcast across Facebook Live, Twitter Live, YouTube, and SoundCloud. I'm with my brother here, Matthew Rein.
What's up? How's it going?
It's really nice to meet him. He is Jordan Rain's cousin. We have had some pretty profound conversation about empathy and truth, and we're ready to share it with you guys. Did you give it a share? It's not coming up yet?
No.
All right, we'll share it afterwards.
We'll share it afterwards.
All right, we'll share it afterwards. So, all right. So, why are we chatting about empathy and truth? Guys, feel free to comment on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll talk about your comments as we go. So, Matthew, why is empathy and truth so important?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important in today's certainly political climate where you have just seemingly every day people yelling at each other, people pushing reporters down, things just happen. Empathy and the actual objective truth is so important because it helps us connect as human beings.
Yes.
When we have that connection, it allows us to understand each other. So I could believe something totally different from you, but that doesn't matter because if we understand each other, we're going to have not only a more substantive conversation, but we're going to be able to really move the discussion forward and actually come up and to figuring out real solutions to the problems that we face in the world today.
That was very eloquent. I
Thank
love
you.
it. I love it. I love it. So
Appreciate that.
So that is precisely correct. It doesn't even matter if we have different perspectives. As long as we know how to empathize with one another, we can then... You gave it a share?
You know, it's really weird. It's not loading. It's all right.
Okay.
Because, I want to share to my wonderful friends. But here's what I'll do. I'll go to your...
Go
I'll
to
do
my
your,
wall. Let's
yeah,
go
go
check
to,
there.
yeah, we'll go back real fast. There you are.
All right. Let's give it a check. Should be one. There it is.
All right, so...
One. There's already... Share now, friends.
no.
All right, cool.
All right.
We're shared across
We're ready.
Matthew's following as well.
Right.
So, okay, so you just brought up this incredibly eloquent and important point, which is that it doesn't even matter if we have different perspectives, as long as we know how to empathize with one another and converse with one another. That way we can come to some sort of mutual understanding that, hey, you might think differently than I do, but I care about what you think. I care about where your thoughts are, how you arrived at them.
Yeah.
And if you care about mine, then maybe we can learn to live harmoniously with different perspectives.
Right, and that's so important today. As I talked about a little bit earlier, it really seems like today, if you tell someone you're of a particular belief, whether that's politically or whatever, sometimes people just run in the opposite direction. I know for me personally, look, I understand, I draw a line with people, if people are racist or sexist or whatever, but when people have legitimate public policy preferences, that doesn't just mean you get to run away and hide to your own circle.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's what happens, is that we try to surround ourselves with people who are like-minded and this and that, but what ends up happening is that our world becomes so polarized. So we really, as individuals, have to work on getting out of that. We have to work on surrounding ourselves with people who might not have a similar belief to us. And
that makes me feel uncomfortable.
Right, exactly.
It hurts so much trying to listen to somebody else tell me that Trump could possibly be a good person.
Right.
But it's important. We use the word echo chamber all the time in today's nomenclature. But that word echo chamber, we got to stretch ourselves outside of that. Because right now our Facebook feeds, our Twitter feeds, our social circles typically constitute of people that think the same way that we do.
Right.
But when we actually focus on going out of our way to meet somebody else that has voted for Trump and ask them, why did you vote for Trump? Why don't you believe in climate change? Why don't you believe in using fossil fuels? Why do you believe in environmental protection. There's so many, and economic stimulus package, whatever,
Whatever
healthcare
it is.
for all.
Right.
Exactly. There's so many of these. And just that simple going outside of our comfort zone to go and talk to other people will increase our sense of empathy, and it'll also potentially get us towards some sort of collective truth.
Right. So after the election, November 8th, I had a really good friend. His name is Max. So Max, if you're watching, shout out to you. But he, so we're both liberal, but he messaged everyone he knew who voted for Trump on Facebook, and he just said simply, I just want to know why you voted for him. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm not trying to, trick you or anything like that. I just want to know why.
Learn.
Now, unfortunately, a lot of people just didn't answer him, or just gave him a f off type of answer. But the people that did answer him actually had some legitimate reasons and responses, right? And so it's really fascinating when you actually make that step forward and you ask someone and you reach your hand out, you extend that olive branch, and you say, I just want to understand your perspective and your thinking. And once you do that, you're going to become a better thinker and a better human being, to be honest. And you will certainly differentiate yourself from a lot of other people. That is for sure. That is
a good way to differentiate yourself from the masses is to actively go outside of your comfort zone and learn from other people that think differently than you do.
Yeah.
So your friend Max did something similar to what I did. We did something similar together the day after the election. I went in the streets of San Francisco with a microphone and camera and asked random people on the streets, do you believe Trump possesses any good characteristics?
Right.
And so I got a bunch of, no, he's Hitler. And then I got a bunch of the, oh no, I voted for him because of this reason or that reason. And so then I compiled that into a video and published it online. So I respect him tremendously for doing that. And you will see out of what Max did there, he went and asked his friends, you voted for Trump, can you please tell me what I'm trying to learn? Even some fraction, probably a majority, I would say, said fuck off.
Right.
Like, I don't want to talk to you, you're liberal, I don't care about your thoughts, etc.
Pretty much.
And then on the other hand, a smaller percentage actually told him why. Why did I vote for him? And then he was able to then better understand and empathize with them.
Yep.
And then he could even potentially message them and say, hey, this is why I voted for Hillary or Bernie, and they could listen to him. And then you have a better world.
Right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you have to agree with everyone, right? And
exactly.
I think that's the problem that people have, is that they think that
you have to agree with them.
Right. When you start talking to someone who's Republican or liberal or libertarian, whatever it is, that you have to agree with them to be able to talk to them, or I don't want to talk to them because maybe something they say is going to contradict my beliefs, and I believe what I believe, and that's it, and that's final. But when you really seriously reach out to other people, your views are going to expand. But that is a good thing.
It is a good thing.
Your expanding views are a wonderful thing, and
our mind gets stretched in new dimensions that we didn't previously know before.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't know why people voted for Trump until you went and talked to them.
Exactly.
You don't know why people voted for Bernie until you go and talk to them. And it's the same thing across climate change. You don't know why people don't believe in climate change until you go and talk to them. Why people don't believe in universal health care until you go and talk to them.
And so we were talking about this a little bit earlier, about everyone likes to think they have a growth mindset.
Yes.
Right? And, everyone likes to think that, oh, I am so worldly, I
listen to everyone.
I'm so respectful, etc., etc. But the reality is that a lot of times we're not.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're very closed-minded in the way that we think, and at the end of the day, the way we think is the way we think, and that's the truth. But if you really want to have a growth mindset, listening to everyone, regardless of their perspective, is the key. That is the key.
Exactly. We'll move into our next point coming up here. This idea of this perpetuative thought process of I'm open-minded, I listen to everyone, etc., that actually is harmful in a lot of ways, because we get trapped in the loop that I am, but we don't actually go and observe how other people really truly are doing that. But that is one of our exit points that we'll talk about on the way out as an action item to try and practice that. Let's move into, so we talked about why empathy and truth. Now we're going to talk about these best examples of empathy and truth. And we've mentioned this before on our podcast and video blog, this example of Wikipedia. So a fairly decentralized source of information that is peer-reviewed, that is source referenced, is pretty damn good. We could 10 years ago, you would have no idea how to access information. You'd have to go cross-check sources yourself. Now it's all made available to you. So donate to them. It's crucially important. I have before. Donate to them. Another thing crucially important, maybe we come up with other sources of intelligence that is like that. For example, we were chatting briefly about the video system, okay, on YouTube. If you find a fairly objectively truthful video about evolution or about consciousness or about machines or computers or whoever has illustrated these points of view, if it is objectively true, let's give it a 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 on the rating system, versus content that is cat videos and that is people slipping and falling and people laughing at them or people killing each other with guns. Maybe that sort of content should deserve a 1, 2, or 3 on the rating system. So you can then become more enlightened as you access the internet with stronger content.
Right, and so one of the biggest problems with the internet right now is that, well, it's very easy to access content that is not truthful, it's biased, and it really is just harmful to society. And so here you have this interesting sort of dilemma, right? Because we want the internet to be as free and as open as possible, and we want people to be posting their opinions and et cetera, but at what point, people are the one example that I want to give is, do you remember the pizza place incident? The owner of this pizza place, I forget what state, it was South Carolina, North Carolina, something like that. There was an internet hoax article posted on some right-wing blog that said he was a sexual predator. He was nowhere even, nothing like that. It was just a random pizza place, and someone with some guy with a gun came to this place with the intent of harming this individual. And so really, I mean, how do you find that balance, right? How do you find the balance between the freedom to say what you want on the internet and the want and need for objective truth?
Yeah.
It's very tough.
Yeah, and we're contemplating right now potentially creating more sources like this in the future, or rating systems like this in the future.
Right.
That same person that came in there with a gun to kill the person could have came in there with a notebook and taken notes on why the person thinks the way they do. So how do we as a society then come up with more sources that are peer-reviewed, that are decentralized, that have adequate sources for objective truth? Even then, the Wikipedia climate science page, it could easily say, we have these people that believe that it does that this layer of biofilm on the planet of humans don't actually cause the climate to change, and that it's impossible for that to happen. And that they also believe that using fossil fuels right now is tremendously important for the economic machine. And on this hand, we have people that believe that the parts per million of CO2 has increased by 100. And we also see that through the ice sheet samples, and we also see the Great Barrier Reef has died. And so then you have a source that is showing the source of one side and a source of the other side, and then you can read through and be like, oh wow, this actually has so many different, it's nuanced, it's multivariable, it's not just binary yes or no.
Right, yeah, and that's so important. And we were talking about this earlier too, about this concept of bias assimilation, where and it's been backed up by science and studies where if you are presented, so let's say I'm pro-abortion and you're anti-abortion, or I guess pro-choice, pro-life. If you or an independent arbiter of information presents me with information that backs up your point about something related to abortion or pro-life, whatever, then I am more likely to become more pro-choice, more to my side. Now, the opposite is true as well. If he's presented information that is the opposite of that, then he's going to push farther that way. So it's really important for people to weigh both sides, and only then will you able to really be able to truly see the truth in the situation.
Exactly. That's a great example. I can be pro-life and come up to you with really great objective facts about being pro-life, about how it is killing a baby. And then you would be like, no, it's not. It's a woman's choice. But really, if you considered it, you would be like, actually, you're right. It's killing a baby. But at the same time, it's important for that person to be ready to have a child into the world. And then you could come to my side and be like, it's important for the woman to have the right to choose. And I could be like, no, it's killing a baby.
Right.
And so then it's important for me to be like, yeah, it is important for that. And you don't have to agree, but you at least listen.
Exactly.
At least truly listen and embody the information. So that's also known as cognitive bias, bias assimilation, cognitive dissonance, political polarization.
Right.
All of those things have similar actual tendencies that people end up living in the dynamics of the world. So our goal through this conversation is to try and get people to better understand that, and then try and work on opening your mind to the other side. So let's pull up some of these comments real quick. Almost spooky how much you guys are tapping into some very similar thoughts and private journal entries that I've had. It feels like we're all riding an empathy/truth zeitgeist. Awesome, Craig. Thanks for that message. I'm glad that you're also on that truth train. We have Terry Rein, but how do you listen to hate?
Sure, that's a
great question.
Yeah.
Here on Craig's commentary, I don't know what you need to listen to hate. But I don't think you win by responding to hate with anger or other negative emotions. If you respond to hatred with curiosity, that might throw someone off and might change the conversation to be more productive. That's the experience I've had. At least that's an interesting point. It's why do you hate? It's like, explain to me why you feel violent right now. Right. That's a good answer to that question. In terms of listening to hate, though, I think it's really important to go, even without even asking that person, go back in their history. Because that person might be very biased up front to you, but if you go back in their history and explore their childhood, explore their parents, explore who they surrounded themselves as their friends, and go and talk to them about this person. Why did this person want to kill people, etc., etc. Right. You can gain a better understanding of how we need to morph society to prevent that kind of stuff from happening.
Right, and at the same time, I don't think you have to tolerate hate at all. I mean, if someone is truly, seriously a racist, or they're saying the N-word, or they think that Jews run the world, or whatever stupid conspiracy theory is out there, I don't think you need to tolerate that at all. But it is interesting, and it is helpful to sort of understand why they think that. Yeah. It really is, but it goes back to this point where if we just sort of ignore people who have these thoughts, we're never going to be able to understand why they think this way. And that goes beyond hate-related items as well. But just sort of jumping back to our discussion a little bit earlier, the scientific community has a really interesting job, as they are the arbiters of information. But one of the biggest problems that they have is communicating this information to the general public, right? And so,
which is why we care about science communication, science education, making it relatable for people,
right? And so, bringing back this idea of climate change, I had a professor actually who did a study in a museum in New York, and there was an exhibit about climate change. And as he was talking to the different individuals, he found that there was a profound lack of understanding of what climate change was. Now, these people weren't, corporate executives or belonging to ExxonMobil or anything like that. They didn't have any sort of relationship to profits, right? But they just had a lack. The general public people had a lack of understanding of scientific concepts. So maybe they were thinking, carbon pollution is real. It is happening. The atmosphere is maybe getting warmer, but it doesn't really affect me. It's not going to affect me. It's not going to affect my kids. If we do something about climate change, then I can't really put food on the table for my kids, right? Because it's going to harm economic activity. So merging these two ideas, being able to understand and relate scientific concepts to a real human aspect, for a lot of people aren't versed in scientific education or concepts. It's so incredibly important, and it's something I think we all need to work on, especially those who have that background of the scientific knowledge.
Yes. The background of scientific knowledge is to communicate it better to the world, more relatably, and empathize with people. And on the people that are not as scientifically fluent in those subjects, it's to actually go and learn more about those subjects, to become more scientifically fluent and literate about it, so that we're not just thinking that it is being propagated by the Chinese as a hoax, or that it's being propagated by the scientists for money, or what have you, and that was trying to impede economic progress. So So good. This has been really solid. Let's maybe end on this action item. So you just brought up the action item again. We brought it up a few times through
Mm-hmm.
the conversation. This episode is called Empathy and Truth because we believe that empathy and truth go hand in hand. That if you that objectively speaking, that that you're looking at Copernicus, who was saying that no, the Earth is not at the center of the universe. We orbit the damn star. And everybody was like, no, you're wrong, you're wrong. So even though that man had the actual truth in the situation, 99.9% of civilization didn't agree. And so if there was some empathy there, if everybody had the internal instinct to want to ask, okay, why do you think the way you do? Why could it be that the Earth revolves around the sun? Then it could have catalyzed more change in other people's minds, right? So there's so many examples like that throughout the world's history. And even today is the most cognitively dissonant and polarized side of things, that if we at least go and talk to people that believe in the opposite of what we do about abortion or about economics or about politics or education or healthcare, what have you, war, go and talk to the opposite side, take some notes. Don't necessarily agree. Take notes, understand why they got there, ask good questions, and then try and come up with some sort of more multivariable answer to how you feel about the issue.
Right. And so here's one of the last thoughts that I want to impart is that, look, the average public, they're not policy experts, they're not scientific experts on one thing or the other. They're living their lives with their families and their kids, and they're trying to make a living, right? They aren't thinking about these issues all the time. They can't sit back and have a philosophy discussion every day or even go on a podcast. So it's really important for us as individuals to reach out to the average common man, and understand what they think, because a lot of times, maybe you can change their opinion, or it's not even about changing opinions. It's about understanding what someone believes, and you imparting that knowledge onto them, and sort of what you believe, and finding sort of a middle common ground where you can go from there.
Yeah, if we could sit around a fire and share stories for thousands of years, why today can we not listen to somebody with a different story than you?
Yeah, I mean, if we were able to do that today in modern society, let's say there was no computers, no internet, whatever, and we all just had to work together and cooperate, I think we'd all get along great regardless of political affiliation, right? And that's one of the biggest things, is that it's very easy to get caught up in our own world. It's very easy to go on Twitter, to Facebook, and see our friends post about how Trump is awful, or oh no, Obama is still a Muslim, he's still a Muslim, whatever it is, right? But it's very hard with all the media today to do that. So it's very important to take a step back from our own social circles, from whatever bubble that we live in, and examine what other perspectives are out there. And once we do that, we're seriously going to become better people, and definitely a better society.
Agreed. And try and embody this thought of like oppositism, just this whole notion of you read something and then you think, could the opposite be true?
Right.
So Obama's a Muslim. Could the opposite be true? Could he not be a Muslim? Trump sucks. Could it be that Trump does something well? Universal healthcare is going to kill the world. Could it be the opposite's true? North Korea launched this missile. Could it be the opposite is true? Gold is the best thing in the world. Could diamonds be better? Just keep thinking. Money is the only ultimate way of transacting value. What about Bitcoin and blockchain? So just keep questioning and keep thinking about the answers to these multivariable problems and societal conversations, and don't necessarily just roll with what is inherent inside of you right now today. Listen, empathize, and we will live in a better world in the future. Any last thoughts before we clock out?
I think just having these discussions is really important. If you can have these discussions with someone who, it doesn't even matter if they believe in you, believe the same thing as you, or they don't. Just talking about it and getting out of your own world is so important. And really, that's what I try to do on a daily basis. And I definitely hope that you sort of take what we have said and go from there, and experiment and try your own things and talk to new people. But at the end of the day, it's about becoming a better person every single day. It's definitely what I'm trying to do.
Yes, be a better person every single day. And a good way to action item that last thought is to be like, okay, I have this belief, and then think, what's the opposite of that belief? And then go post and go message other people that have the opposite belief and ask them, hey, why do you have that opposite belief than me?
And if
Go
they
do that.
Yeah, and if they tell you to fuck off, then whatever.
Then
you
go
know?
ask the next 5 people, because at least one of them will
Right.
say, hey, this is why I believe this way. Thanks for being interested. And then if they're really empathetic, then they'll ask you why you believe your way. And then you'll have a great conversation with them. So that's a great action item for us today. Awesome, Matthew. High
Cool.
five.
All right.
Dude, great
Great
conversation.
talk. Love it.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. As you know, we are on Patreon, patreon.com/Alan Sakian, first name, last name. Same thing, 2030 podcast on soundcloud.com. Guys, if this has made a profound impact on you, please do share with other people, like, retweet, repost, share it, please. And then let's catalyze change in our communities. Let's catalyze change in the world. Much love to everyone. This wouldn't happen without you. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys soon.
Perfect. See you later.
Later.